In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was without form and void, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. Then God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. Maybe you're like me and you're imagining that scene as it's read, and you're starting to wonder, what was it like that there was darkness and all of a sudden there was light? Maybe you think of it like this: you're watching the utter darkness that exists in the universe, and all of a sudden you hear a voice, and it's the voice of God, and he says, "Let there be light," and all of a sudden light pierces through darkness. Maybe that's how it happened. Maybe it would be something like this, where you're watching the inky sky, the velvety dark of the universe, that obsidian darkness, and all of a sudden light splits it open. And you wonder, what happened? I heard no voice. Why did light come to be? Here's the thing. I think that when God speaks and he says, "Let there be light," or later, "Let trees grow from the earth," I wonder if you wouldn't have heard any of those words being spoken. And that instead, the language of God is creation itself. Creation is the language of God, so that God's words and God's world are the same when he creates them. Like Frodo living in Middle Earth, he lives in a world of words created by J.R.R. Tolkien. Or like Aslan roams through Narnia, he lives in a world of words created by C.S. Lewis. You and I, when we walk through a forest or swim through a lake or look up into the starry night sky, we are witnessing the words of God. His words and his world were created as one thing. There was complete harmony between those two things. And then something changed, right? Something changed with the words, "Did God really say?" For the first time ever, there was a disconnect between words and world. There was space between them. And what the serpent was trying to do was trying to mimic the trick that God did. When God spoke and created a world, the serpent was also trying to do the same thing. He was trying to speak and create a world, and he created a world. Or, more accurately, he broke one. Poor Eve didn't know what was gonna come, because the promise was, if you eat from the forbidden fruit, then you will be made like God. And she stepped out into that promise only to discover that it was hollow. That lies bring suffering and curses and death. Following the lie of the serpent brought brokenness to this world. And so when you and I lie, we do the same thing. When we use our words in such a way where words and world are not the same, we do what the serpent does, and we break the world. We bring suffering to ourselves. We bring suffering to others. We bring suffering into this creation, and we break God's world. So what do? What did Jesus do? Jesus comes into this world, and as his whole life and ministry is coming to a close, he's standing trial before Pontius Pilate. And Pontius Pilate asks him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" And Jesus says, "Is that something that you're thinking about me, or did somebody else talk to you and put that in your ear?" Pilate says, "Am I one of your people, the Jews? No, they brought you to me, even your chief priests and your elders. What is it that you've done?" And Jesus says, "My kingdom is not from this world. If it was from this world, then my servants would have fought to keep me out of the hands of the Jewish people. But as it is, my kingdom is not from this world." Pontius Pilate says, "So you are a king then, huh?" Jesus says, "You say I'm a king. For this purpose, I come into the world, to bear witness to the truth." What's that truth? What did Jesus come to say? Well, he came and said that the world is not the way that it was supposed to be, that it's broken. He said that we, through our lives, have contributed to the brokenness in this world. He told us that we ourselves are enslaved to lies, and that he could bring freedom through the truth, that he could bring God's will to this world, that he could make his words and his world the same again. So we killed him. That's what telling the truth does. We want to believe that the world is fine the way that it is. We want to believe that we are fine the way that we are, that we're nobody's slave, and we don't need to be rescued, and we don't need God's vision for our lives. We don't need his freedom, because we rather like believing lies. But Jesus goes to the cross voluntarily. It's not as though he tells the truth and then we put him on a cross against his will. No, he comes and specifically goes to the cross. That's his mission. That's his bearing testimony to the truth, because Jesus has come to break the power of the serpent's lies. Those who have dwelled in darkness have seen a great light. Those of us who were dwelling in darkness because we lived enslaved to the lies about ourselves, about God, about the world around us, about people created in the image of God, we who lived in darkness, God has said, "Let there be light," and there is light. You and I can be free from believing the lies about ourselves, believing the lies about the people around us, about his world, about God himself. And when we begin to believe the truth, it sets us free. And we can be people who speak the truth in love to others, like Jesus did, because Jesus' way is speaking the truth in love, even if it means suffering and death. So let's go out ourselves today and speak the truth in love, even if it costs us. Amen.